that like you were compassionate, or it was something that came to you that was directed to you?
Something that was opened up inside of me.
Uh-huh.
And it became part of my experience. It was an awakening that awakened into me this divine, it was like a divine love, a higher, pure love for all of humanity.
So when you say an awakening, it's like it was always there and you became awake to it.
Yes, it was like a veil. It was like a veil was removed.
Huh.
And I was in a state of whatever I would see, I could sense that it was almost like that God was everywhere, except that I was experiencing it coming from within me, that awakening of God.
You know, we have a skill called remove the veil.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's skill 6, yeah.
Yeah. Not to take care of myself. Really? Fucking, you know, I'm around 5. You gotta be not only look respectable, you gotta talk respectable. Be respectable.
You do. That's right. You want to treat me like I'm somebody who cures things.
Cures thousands of people. I have to be very mindful of whom I'm talking to. Very mindful, man.
Oh, and I love you. You're just so much fun. We met 40 years ago, almost. You realize that? I was 15 and you were 20.
Yes, I remember you. I remember you very clearly. You know how you looked. I remember the beach. I remember even the women that you met. That one woman you brought over to me. You introduced me that you met on the beach. You know, I have a memory of you know, how she even looked.
Uh-huh.
And you're smiling. You know, at that time. You know, I do have a memory of you know, of the different people that showed up at the beach. And your mom, I remember your mom, and I remember how she looked. I remember the inside of your house. You know, when I was there a couple of times. I do remember. I remember how you really wanted your mother to treat your friends good. I remember that. Let's see what else. Now what you want me to talk about is...
Wait a minute, hang on a minute. See, I'm now 65 and you're now 70.
Yes.
Yep, okay, just to get that straight. And
Yes,
I want you to hold up your hand. So I want to be able to see your hand here. Okay? The hand that you get a signal with. I want to see your fingers. Can you see my fingers? You see my finger moving? Yeah, there you go. Now I want to test the question. I want to test, ask this about yourself, are all my organs okay?
Oh, you want me to...
yeah, I want to see your finger. I want to see your finger when you get a test that they are, see? Or if they are not, then we'll test through them and find out which ones aren't. But just ask, are they all okay, and see if you get a movement on any of your fingers.
Okay, I'm going to look at my... Okay. Are all my organs okay?
How about, are all my organs over 50% functioning?
Are all my... Let me use my right hand.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Are all my organs 50% working?
50% or better.
Are all my organs 50% working, 50% better?
Or better.
Or better.
Or better than 50% of their full function.
Or better than 50%.
Of their full function.
Of their co-function.
Of their full function.
Of their full function.
See if you get a signal on it.
I seem to be all right on 50% or over 50%.
Did one of your fingers move?
No, not over 50%. We have to go further than that to find out more.
Okay, go further. Ask another question. Go further. Keep your hand up so I can see your finger.
Okay, are all my organs 75% or over okay? Are they functioning good? Well, my hand seems to be, I think, seem to be steady.
Okay.
Okay.
Are any of my organs, try this, are any of my organs functioning at under 50%?
Are any of my organs functioning under than 50%?
Less than 50%.
Less than 50%. I don't know if it's just the thumb. Let's see, a little bit on the thumb.
Okay, so you got it in your thumb.
Yes, and the thumb is a slight. Yeah, there is a movement.
Okay.
On the thumb part.
Well, I want you to. You don't have to show your hand anymore, but I want you to feel that thumb, and say the names of organs and see if you get any movement on. Just say the names.
Right. Well, I know where it would be.
Okay, say the name of that organ. What's that one?
Okay, that must be something to do with the left side by the groin.
Uh-huh.
Right, the left side, right next to the groin. And that part here, there's been which, let's see, there's some kind of that's like the bladder. I know the bladder is down.
Okay,
here. You said that.
Is my bladder functioning at less than 50%?
Oh, okay. Is my bladder functioning less than 50%?
See if your thumb moves.
Let's see. No.
Is my bladder functioning at over 50% of its full function?
Is my bladder functioning over 50% of its function? Let's see. Just see something. Yeah, now it's the only thing that's moved is the pinky.
Okay, yeah, I tested that too. So your bladder, what's the other organ that you're trying to think of? Let's test with any other organ.
I think that there's, from what the doctor said, that there was some kind of, I think it was like a bacteria.
Well, test this. Ask, is my urethra functioning at less than 50%?
Is my urethra?
Urethra is the tube that comes out of the bladder. Is my urethra functioning at less than 50%?
Is my urethra functioning less than 50%? Eureka. I can't.
It's okay. You know what you're trying to do, so it's okay. You don't have to say the word right.
What happened? You went off.
I'm here. I'm right here.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, you're not going to see me all the time. This is about you, so we'll focus on you.
Yeah, there's yeah, he gave me a medication to help clear out that little bacteria there, because there was a little pain. There was a little pain which stopped me from my so I wasn't sure, but he said it was some kind of it was just like a little bacteria that got in there. So he gave me some antibiotic for that.
Okay, test, is that functioning at over 50% now?
functioning over 50% now. What do you mean by over 50%?
Over 50% of its full function.
Oh, over 50% of its full function. I'm not really getting any movement.
Okay.
No, I don't see any movement.
Okay.
Let's see.
Test this question. Did we just cure something in the last few minutes for you? Let's see if you get a signal on that.
Okay. Did we just cure something at this? Let's see. Yeah, it might. Let's see. Let's see. Let me see the pinky.
You got a movement.
Yeah, there's a movement.
Okay. Well, that's what it is to cure something, and you know, you obviously you're still having troubles with your urethra, and maybe you should continue. You have to obviously, if you're doing an antibiotic, you have to complete the treatment. You have to you have to finish the pills, right?
Right.
You can't stop in the middle. But I just noticed while you were doing this testing that you cured something. So that's what we tested for, and I don't really think we need to know what it is, but you got a test on it. So congratulations, you have cured something. You don't know what it is, but you did. Do you feel any different than before we started the call?
Well, I'm just pressing down because it isn't something that I feel all the time.
Uh-huh.
You know, sometimes when I sit, I can feel it.
Yeah, okay.
That's about when I would feel it at this point. But it seems to be it seems to be healing. It seems to be definitely better from taking the medication.
And tell me, do you feel any different in any way since the call started? Is there a change in you since we've been doing this testing?
Yeah, I feel more relaxed. Yeah, I feel, yeah, definitely, more relaxed, more at ease. That something, there's been some change.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I feel good, yes.
Well, I also remember the moment that you and I met. I have a vivid memory of the very first time we met. I know exactly where we were standing. We were we were beside across that little road from the patio, and you came walking over to me, and you had this enormous grin on your face.
Is that right? See?
You had this enormous grin on your face. And so I started talking. You were a pretty easy guy to talk to, so I started talking to you. And at some point, and I don't know if it was when we first met, but within the next few days, I mean, you were somebody who incessantly talked about Meher Baba. You never stopped talking about Meher Baba. Especially when we were just hanging out, you would just launch into something. And there was a story that you told me that had happened. It was actually happening when we met, about how Irwin went to India and you got left behind. And I want you to tell that story now because I think it's the best introduction to Meher Baba that I ever had. So I'd love for other people to hear it, okay? And this would be, I guess, 1960. The 1960 Darshan, was it?
Yes, that would have been 1960.
Right, okay.
So I made it. So you want to hear about that, okay?
I want to hear from the beginning about how you and Irwin planned to go to India and what happened and how you got left behind and he went. And tell me the story.
Okay, are you videoing this here?
Yes, it's been videoing the whole time.
Oh, okay.
So the video's been on, it's running. The camera is running.
Okay, okay, my name is,
We got that. I got that all on film.
Okay, so I don't have to introduce myself.
Hello, Edward Luck.
Well, it's good to be reconnecting with you again, Bayard. After all these years that I've known you, and going on, what, about 40 years now. And it's, you know, to have a friend that's over 40 years it's really amazing, and it feels so good. But so at this time.
Okay. Anyway, as the story goes, I remember the beginning was when you discovered Meher Baba. You had gone to New York to study acting, and you were in the New York Public Library looking for books on acting. And what happened then? Then you discovered Meher Baba in the New York Public Library.
Okay.
Start there.
Okay. At that time, this was in 1959.
Right.
At that time, I was about 19 years old, and anyhow, I was interested in really what you'd say, very interested in show business, and I would be. That's why I went to New York, and from Miami, and so I would make the rounds of the different agencies and things like that, and in the meantime, I also had a job to sustain myself, to pay my bills financially for my apartment where I was staying and things like that. And then one day I thought in terms of going to the New York Public Library. And I was thinking maybe I could get a book that would help me with memory. So as it was, I said, you know, that's a good idea, because I would like, you know, to be able to remember lines, you know, a lot easier. So I went there and I thought about the Indians, and how, from Indian, how they had all these different techniques. They had so many different techniques where they could walk on, they could walk on glass, they could walk on nails, they could lie down on nails, they could put things through they could put pins through their cheeks. I mean, they had a lot of different, so I was thinking if they have a technique is good for memorization, then, you know, it'll really be helpful. So I went to the New York Public Library. They have about 8 million books there. Went up to the, I think it was the second floor. So I got 3 floors of books. And then I got to the Indian section, and I saw a book. It was in the Indian section, and I pulled it out. I just pulled it out because there were different books. And when I pulled it out, I pulled out this book, and it said, "Listen, Humanity." So in that respect, I said, "Listen, Humanity," you know, see, because I was thinking, you know, it sounds so English. That, you know, in that respect, that, you know, is this a book that would really be about, you know, the Indians? But what caught my attention was the title. And in big words, it had "Listen, Humanity." And I said, gee whiz, you know, this man would really like someone to listen. So anyhow, I opened it up, and I saw a picture, which I was come to know of, was an Indian master by the name of Meher Baba. I didn't know that it was a picture of an Indian master when I saw it, but he certainly looked, he had a garland around him. It looked like a man right in Hawaii. So anyhow, I opened up the book and I started reading, and anyhow, it turned out that that the book was such that it showed a man the way he was with people, the very poorest, and with lepers, and he would give interviews to people to help them spiritually. And so I got very inspired. I said, you know, in these private interviews that were written down, I said, if I did any of the things that this Meher Baba said to these people to do, the only thing that would happen to me is I would become a better person. And so after reading the book, it awakened me spiritually. It was a spiritual awakening, in the sense that after I read about Baba's life and his compassion for the very poorest, and giving them clothing money, food. I said, you know, what it did, that book, it awakened me to the fact that someone could live this kind of life, then God that does exist. And so in that respect, I began to think about God, because I said, you know, I never thought in terms of God. It never, you know, I never related to it. Nobody ever brought up the name God to me.
Wait, stop, Ed.
Okay, so it turns out that my brother, who had made a contact with Mayor Baba, and also I, and anyhow, Baba had expressed that he would like to see both of us. And so we were both really delighted, because now I was really awakened spiritually, and knew that there was a higher awareness to experience, to connect with, and that Baba could be very, very helpful spiritually in this respect. So Erwin and I, that we got the news that Baba was giving darshan, and meaning where people could have his contact and to have his help. So my brother and I thought, well, this is something that we really would like to do. And however, on the other hand, my father, he was very opposed to Baba. We had spoken to him about Baba, but he was very, what you'd say, really closed-minded, and he had no interest in hearing about Baba, and just felt that Baba was absolutely unnecessary, and we shouldn't even be thinking in terms of Meher Baba. So he was, I mean, really opposed. So in that respect, we knew that there's no point in telling him that we were going to see Baba at the appointed time. That he would, of course, if he heard that, then he would he would get very, very angry and do whatever he could, create quite a scene that we shouldn't go. However, at that point, so we didn't say anything to my father, and anyhow, my father had left. He had left at that point, at that time, on a vacation with his wife, and so he was going to be gone for a good couple of weeks. So my brother and I, we were thinking, you know, about how we were going to really have all the monies, and we had some, but it wouldn't really be quite enough to be able to make that trip to India, where Baba was at that time. So I tried to think of things to do, and then Erwin decided, you know, he was the vice president of the company, and of my father's company, which dealt with selling real estate. And so my brother came up with an idea that he would really put he took a bonanza of an ad in the paper for real estate. And anyhow, it turned out to be very successful, and with the sales and all, and we had all the necessary monies to go. And so within a short time, my father, of course, he had come back, and now my brother and I were making plans. We knew we had to make plans without him knowing, because he would prevent us from going. So we made our plans without him knowing anything, getting our passports, our visas, and everything else. And then we both left Miami and went on to the airport in New York. And at the airport, we were at the airport. We had arrived there, and then there was a couple of men that came over to us, and they said, "Are you the Luck brothers?" And we said yes. And then he said, "Well, would you come with us for just a little bit?" And we knew. I sensed at that time something wasn't really right. Something was really wrong. And in that respect, they said that to come with them, I sensed that I don't think that we're going to be able to be with them and to be able to board that plane for India, that something was up.
Right.
So yeah, we went with them, and we went into this. We went into this little, was like a room, a fair-sized room, and they started talking to us, and they said, "All right, now you can tell us everything." And we said, "Well, what is there that you want to know that would be everything?" And he said, "Well, apparently we want to know where are you going?" And we said, "Well, we're going to India." And they said, "Why?" And we said for spiritual reasons. And then they said, "Okay, then where did you get the money to go to India?" And so we said, "Well, at that point, my brother stepped forward, and he said, well, he had earned the money. And in the meantime, we had at that time put he said, well, listen, to make things really easy, why don't you just turn over all the money to us? And we said, well, why should we do that? He says, because we think that that the way you got the money, it wasn't legal. And then my brother said, he says, that's not so. He says, I am the vice president of the real estate company. And he said, well, how would that make it right? He said, listen, why would a vice president steal from his own self? And they thought about a man, so they really thought about this. Why would a person steal from their own self? They already got the money. Why are they going to steal it?
It was actually Irwin's salary that your father owed him, I think, as I remember hearing this, wasn't it?
Well, it was there was salary
and commissions
and
too.
Also there's a commission, a percentage of the business.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I remember that now. Yeah.
See, there was a lot. I mean, a lot of real estate was sold, and an amazing amount of real estate. So
in one day.
Yeah. So it was.
Yeah.
So what was?
That's what happened. See, I think that's the thing that I wanted to focus on, is that your brother came up with an idea to turn over an enormous amount of real estate in one day, which happened, and that was how he overnight got the several $1,000s that you and he needed. His commissions amounted to that much. And I just wanted to mention that these are 10-minute YouTube movies, and we only have about another 10 minutes of filming. So I think we need to get to the point, which is that they told, I guess your father relented on having you both put in jail, which he was thinking of. He brought this bogus charge against Irwin, as I remember, and they detained you because you were underage.
Yeah, I remember the whole thing. I can get to all of that now.
Go ahead.
Are you there?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So when Irwin said, why would the vice president of the company steal from himself. And anyhow, they thought about it, and then they realized that it was a little confusing now to them. So they would go out this door. They went out this door, and then they came back in, and then they said, well, listen, why don't you do this here? You should just turn over all your monies to us, and then you can go back and we can give it to and everything will be all right. And we said, no, why should we do that? He says, because this whole thing is not good. And in the meantime, suddenly they went out the door, and they came back in, because we were very animate. We're not turning our monies over to anybody or anything. And just then the door burst open. My father came in, and he said to us, he says, you guys, he says, you need to forget this whole thing of India and just turn over all your traveler's checks and your monies to me. And then we can all go back and everything will be fine. We don't even have to think about this. And we said to him, no, that, what we want to do, is to go to India, and the money is ours, so therefore, why do we need to go to, why would we have to turn it over to you? And this is not, and then he said, he turned around to these, apparently detectives, and he says, see, they don't listen to anyone. All they want to do is get money and think that they're going to go to India, and this is not going to happen, because he says, you know why it's not going to happen? Because people like these belong in a mental institution. So that's where they need to go. Not to India, but to an institution. So anyhow, by this time, the detectives realized they thought they had a couple of con men on their hands that that had stolen from him and things like that. And then they realized this was not the case. What this was just a family domestic problem that was going on inside the family. So when they realized that, then they says, well, Mr. Luck, it seems like what we really have here is not, like criminals or anything like that. It seems, this is a family. This is a family matter, what's going on here. And he says, the family, he says, what do you do with people that don't listen to you? He says, listen, I just want you, he says, tell them just to turn over all their monies to me, and everything will be fine. If not, then they got to go to jail. So the detectives now have realized it's a personal family matter, and he says, listen, Mr. Luck, these are your sons, All you need to do is go to a hotel and just straighten out the family matter with them. He says it won't do any good because they just don't listen. However, because they are crazy, I may not have any choice, but they really belong in an institution. But like a fool, I'll take them to a hotel room and be the sucker. and try to pretend nothing has happened.
Okay, so listen, we got to move on now. So just get us on the plane, and then get to where you're in Florida, and just finish this story. Like in the next 5 minutes, finish the story.
Okay, I'll just speed it up. Okay. So my father took us to the hotel room, and then he spoke to us, and Irwin apparently. So what happened is my father said to us after talking to us and everything, and he says finally he says, I can only let one of you go. I would have to be, you know, really crazy, you know, but one of you can go. And so I said to Irwin at that point, he also communicated, he says, the reason why only one of you can go is because I will only allow one because one is because he said you, Edward, are underage, so there's no way you can go because that I can prevent. But Irwin is of age, so you have to decide what you're going to do. So I told Irwin he should go ahead, and I'll figure a way to get over there. So Irwin, so we communicated that to our father that Irwin would be the one. Irwin would go, and so Irwin left for India, and then I had to go back from New York back to Miami, and at that point I started what you call like a fast. And then I had an experience on the plane as I started the fast that everything was going to be all right. And that the fast, to continue the fast, was not necessary anymore. That was my intuitional experience. So anyhow, so then I got back to Miami, and Irwin was flying. Irwin was on his way to India. And when I arrived back, and I remember I started to have like you'd say, like an experience.
Yeah.
And in the experience, I began to feel the presence of God. And it was, but anyhow, as the hours were going by.
What was the presence of God like?
It was an overwhelming, it was an experience of a love that was filled with, it was a pure love that was filled with tremendous compassion for all life, all human beings on the planet.
And you felt that like you were compassionate, or it was something that came to you that was directed to you?
Something that was opened up inside of me.
Uh-huh.
And it became part of my experience. It was an awakening that awakened into me this divine, it was like a divine love, a higher, pure love for all of humanity.
So when you say an awakening, it's like it was always there and you became awake to it.
Yes, it was like a veil. It was like a veil was removed.
Huh.
And I was in a state of whatever I would see, I could sense that it was almost like that God was everywhere, except that I was experiencing coming from within me, that awakening of God.
You know, we have a skill called remove the veil.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's skill 6, yeah.
Yes, so anyhow, but I knew it was coming from a divine source.
Yeah, right.
That was enabling me to experience this. But I had this was all new to me. And then, of course, I saw Bayard. At that time, he had come on the beach.
And I'm right here. You can talk to me. I'm right here.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw you when
there's Bayard there, and when he saw me, he was about 25, 30 feet from me, and he said to me when he saw me, he said, first thing he said, he says, Eddie, you're glowing. And then just then there was another friend who had seen me at the beach just prior to Bayard, and he says, yes, Eddie radiates these days. But I was still trying to grasp as to how this was happening to me. And then just at that, then I went back to my place, my place where I was living, with where my mother was, and she said you have received you received a telegram, and I said I had a telegram, and she said yes, I had never received a telegram. Anyhow, I opened up the telegram, and in the telegram, Baba said, "Time and distance mean nothing to me, and you will benefit equally the same as if you were in India." And then I thought to myself, he said, time and distance mean nothing to me, and that you will benefit equally the same as if you were in India. And then I said, oh, so that's how this is happening, this experience. That Mayor Baba has enabled me to start to have this experience of this exquisite love, this higher form of a purer, more giving, caring love. And so I said, oh, so Mayor Baba is the one that's behind all of this experience that's being awakened in me.
You know what?
And
when I, this was one of the first Meher Baba stories you ever told me. And from the very beginning, I always knew, right from the first, from when I was 15, that no matter where I was or what I was doing, that Meher Baba was always accessible to me. And that experience you're talking about of the love and the bliss and the compassion, that's the signal that we get, that when we call it the calm, clear place. The peaceful feeling that people get when they cure things. When you said before you felt relaxed, that's a little mini aspect of what you experienced when you were on the beach. These are all part of that same thing. It's a signal that you're with God, you're unlimited, you're well, you're free of disease, you're functional, and so on. It signals good things are with you and happening to you and for you.
Yes, so that was the beginning of, and then I realized, of course I understood when Baba said time and distance mean nothing to me, and having that experience halfway, that he reached me halfway around the world, it gave me an awareness as to what the avatar consciousness is, because I never even related these things.
Yeah, because Baba gave you the experience and you were open to it. And had you not been open to it, you wouldn't have had it. And you know, the funny thing about this whole story is, the punchline of this story is that your father became a devout Baba lover later in his life.
Yeah, he thought Baba really, I mean, really the devil. I mean, he was really, just the mere mention of Baba's name could set him off.
He meditated about him so much.
In front of a bull, that's all you had to do is mention Baba's name, and that's what that was like.
But later in his life, he became a Baba lover.
Yes, later on, he would write to Baba, and he had his awakenings also.
He surrendered. Your father surrendered to Baba later.
Yes, as time went on, he started to read for the first time some of the things Baba said. He had never read anything. The thing is just against, he just felt Baba was the devil, and that's all. He never read anything. The only thing he had ever heard was my brothers and I interest in Baba, and that was all. And the rest, he wanted us to have nothing to do with Baba. And much less go. Yes.
Okay. We got it. I think this is good for now. This was very, very good.